And I ain't hit no drop in a minute. No, I'm about my business.
Rappers Guy Podcast, episode 23.
23, Jordan.
This is your host, Diggy Metro.
Bailz Pagliacci.
And today we want to talk about having a manager as an independent act, as someone coming up, and why it's not really useful. We get it that when you look around the industry, you see that all these big name artists have managers, and it's enticing to be like, oh, to be important, I also need to go get a manager. But the reality is, if you don't have enough product or you don't have enough following, then there's really no point. What's your thoughts on this?
I don't have a manager. I'm not looking for a manager because in my mind, not to say that, not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to toot my own horn. For the most part, if there's anything that a manager could do, I can do on my own. I can try to book a venue or I can try to get onto a show on my own. Like social media is a thing.
To a certain point.
To a certain point, yes. Because like once I get to a level where it's just, I need a little bit more connections. I need somebody that's going to actively go out there and get something that I don't have connections with. Then yeah. But for right now, I want to build it up and let that manager come to me.
I would say beyond even connections, and that's very true, and we'll get into that. But I would say even beyond the connections of a manager, like what's important is that there's going to be a point if you become successful in this space, there's going to become a point where like you just literally can't handle all the workload anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to go get someone, and your manager, they shouldn't be like an assistant, but they should assist you in your daily operations. So the point that you actually need a manager is different than when people want a manager. And a lot of artists want a manager starting off because they just think that it looks better, like the optics will work out better for you. But realistically, you should have a manager when you need one, because even at this point, like you're not really bringing in money. So say you are bringing in a couple $100 a month, breaking off 20%, 30%
to that manager is
to
crazy.
A manager of a couple $100 is crazy. And they're probably handling things that you could have handled, like Bailz said.
On your own.
So I would say when you need a manager is when you can no longer handle the daily operations. It becomes too much workload for you. And now you need to hire an employee pretty much.
Because even looking at it like this is a little bit different topic, but when it comes to registering your songs, you know, like right now I got upwards of like 40 songs. I have to register all of them, like BMI and Sound Exchange and all those things. It could be a little bit daunting. Sometimes I feel like I probably will want like a manager or somebody to do this for me so I don't have to do it. But at the same time, that's laziness. I can do it myself.
Right. But again, like, all right, so for right now, it's probably laziness. But if there becomes a point where now you're on the road, you're doing tours, you're constantly performing, then it's not laziness when you can't do certain jobs.
Exactly.
It's just you need someone to help you out. Because like, all right, I'll give you guys an example. I started a studio, right, 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. And the studio itself, when I'm starting off, I'm running everything and I need to do literally everything. And I was capable of it because the clientele wasn't high. And then you get to a certain point where you're booked every single day, where you might look to pull in a new engineer, or you might look to pull in a manager of the studio that can manage just the scheduling and stuff like that.
Day to day.
And it's impossible to be the engineer, the manager, this, that, once you have the clientele. And to bring that to your music career, your clientele would pretty much be your followers, your support. You know what I mean? The people that are actually listening to your music, your customers, those would become your clientele. And once you can no longer handle the processes, and sometimes you have a manager that handles your social media. Sometimes you have a social media manager.
And that's definitely no problem with having a social media manager, because like a person like me, not to say I struggle with social media, but for the most part, I grew up with technology. I grew up with social media, but as far as like promoting myself sometimes through social media, if it's not through Facebook ads, sometimes I suffer from it because it's like, I'm not about to post 2 or 3 times a day or throughout the week. I post whenever I feel like posting, but if I wanted to reach more engagement, that social media manager could actually help me. And that's why they have people be social media managers, just for that.
And that brings us back to an episode that we had recently where we said, if you can't do everything yourself, like you can outsource and you could grab people. So you need money for that though. And if you're not making money, it becomes harder for you to actually outsource and grab a social media manager when like, it's like you can handle it. You know, you should be able to be on Instagram and posting a couple times. the legwork is something that a lot of artists don't want to do.
Yeah.
And why that's kind of like it just it's showing. It's telling of who you are and where your place will be in this industry. Because if you really want to get to the top, like let's talk about an artist like DaBaby, right?
Yeah.
At one point, people were saying that, yeah, I remember seeing him at this festival in a baby diaper.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember seeing him here. I remember seeing him there. He has all this social media presence and as well as physical presence, where he's showing up and popping out to all these places, and people before he even got famous are like, I remember seeing that guy. And that's because he had that drive and that ambition. What people tend to forget is that you need that. Like that's not something that you can bypass. And I'm not saying that you need to be popping out to every event because the internet exists, but you need that drive. If you're not going to pop out to every event,
you got to be on the internet heavy.
Exactly. Be on the internet heavy. You have to know that like it's important for you to go and to actually put in the legwork. And if you're not willing to do that and your career prolongs, or like the start of your career prolongs, it's because you're not doing the work.
Even when you look at it like this, I think his name originally was Black Jesus or something, and then he switched it into DaBaby, or he switched it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Like that name switched, but the drive did not switch. Like literally from him being Black Jesus to DaBaby, it's like that drive was still there. He was still putting in all the work, and the name switched, but the work was still there. Like it doesn't matter. Like the work, that's what the work ethic. It has to be there. It just has to be there.
I'm also gonna say something that a lot of artists are probably gonna take offense to. Stop thinking that you're too fucking cool to do the work. Like that shit, and that applies to every fucking business. There's people that are just they just think that they're too cool to put in the work. I don't want to do that. That's gonna make me look corny. Do you want to fucking make it? Like that's the real question you have to ask yourself. Like rather than like, yo, am I gonna look corny? It's like, do you want to make it? Because a lot of you guys don't show the effort that shows I want to make it. It shows that you think you're too cool to do the shit that's necessary to actually get somewhere in this business. And if you have that mindset, again, like we don't tell people to hang it up often, but there are a few things that if you could see that that's you should hang it up.
Hang that shit up.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, yo, this is important to a young person out there who's trying to make it. Like all that shit that they say is corny, it's corny until it fucking works.
Yep.
And then everyone that was calling it corny is going to start doing the shit.
And jumping on the bandwagon.
You know what I'm saying? Like Bailz is like the first person out of his area, or like the people that were surrounding him, that really started like putting in the legwork as far as social media. And I'm sure that they were saying he was corny behind closed doors when he was first doing it.
Yes, sir.
And then when it starts to work, you start to see the same people try to do the same things he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's because it's not corny when it fucking works. It's only corny when you're first starting because you don't really have the hang of it. But once you get the hang of it and you know how to work it, it becomes a lot less corny. And when people start to see that a following's picking up and all that shit, they're going to look at you and be like, he's doing the right shit. You know, a lot of artists, we don't want to do the right shit.
And that's why, like, when I said, like, I'll have a manager come to me, that's basically what it ties into. Because, like, at this point, I'm not searching for somebody to want to manage me if I have to find them. It's like, you should be coming towards me because I'm the one that's showing you, okay, look, I've already, I know how to market myself. I'm already having a social media presence. I'm engaging with my fans. At this point, you should come, you should see that drive and say, if I wanted to manage Bailz Pagliacci, what can I do for him? Like, what can I give to him? And until I find somebody that's going to do that, or until somebody finds me, it's like, I'm not looking for no manager.
Okay, good point you made. Now let's flip it, right? If Bailz Pagliacci wants me to manage him, what does he have to offer me?
Exactly. Like, I got to be able to offer
what do you
something.
have to offer? And that's another thing that artists need to ask themselves. What do you have to offer? If you're not pulling in money and you're not willing to pay money, right? If you don't have a fan base, if you don't have all these things that are necessary to actually have employees, then what are you offering? Because don't let it get twisted in your head. Having a manager is, you're the boss.
Mm-hmm.
You might think that the manager is a higher up than you. That's not true. You're utilizing their services for you, and you are hiring them as your manager. So you're the boss in that situation, whether you like to think it or not. Just because they have a little stain doesn't mean that you're not their boss. And what you say goes ultimately. So what do you have to offer that manager? If it's not financial, is it? A lot of people go off potential. They think that potential means something, but I'm here to tell you that, like,
It don't mean shit.
It doesn't mean anything because, yo, I've seen a lot of talented and potential driven people who you could look at them and you go, the music is, there's a lot of potential in the music, but as far as the actual
The artist goes.
work ethic,
Yeah.
it's not there. You know what I mean? So like, are you the person who you can offer a manager at least the comfort of this dude's going to bust his ass? If you could be that guy, I could see people taking you on. But also, you have to have something to offer. Like no one's going to, first off, the music has to be good.
Yep.
That's one. Like the music can't be bad, right? And if someone jumps to be your manager, when you have no following, you have no money coming in, then you have to question that move because a good manager is not going to do that.
Yeah, and like even if you had like a friend that's a manager, that's cool and all. If you want to have a friend that's a manager, I guess. But eventually, as time goes on, if that friend isn't doing what he needs to do, you're gonna have to understand that, yo, I might need to move on. The bigger you get, I need to move on and get a real manager. I have to let this person go on the wayside. And then it's like, I see it a bunch of times. Like I'll see an artist and then they'll say their management. And then I'll click on the management page and it's basically they're the same person.
It's their boy.
They're the same person.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I guess so. I'm gonna reach out to this guy when I could just personally just reach out to you and get like a better connection. It's like, there shouldn't be that, in my perspective, there shouldn't be that wall where you're higher than or higher down where I have to speak to your manager when like we're basically on the same level. I'd rather just have a conversation with you face to face. Now, if it was a bigger name artist, I'm trying to reach out to them, I can understand getting into their management. And I've done it where I've tried to reach out to these artists and their managers and they don't respond to me anyway. So it's like, I probably should just went to you personally. And then I do that and I still don't get a response.
Listen, if you don't have a following and you point me towards your manager, I'm just not going to ever speak to you again.
That's wild.
I'm never going to reach out to you again because to me, it's like you could tell when someone needs a manager. You could just tell. And I could tell you that a lot of people that want a manager don't need a manager. And I've seen people, look, perfect sign that you don't need a manager. You have 5 songs to your name.
What are they managing?
What are they? They're managing a catalog of 5 records, you know, and it's not to put you guys down. It's just to like kind of give you perspective. Like if you don't have a catalog, there's nothing to manage. Your product is you, but it's also, if you're a musician, it's the music. And if you don't have any product, then there's no necessity for a manager.
What's the number percentage? It's like what, 18% like of what you get, or like your revenue as far as a manager, like you would like normally get.
Well, that's a negotiable thing. It could be 15%, it could be 20%, it could be 30%.
But even then, like I'll give a perfect example because I don't care. I'll be like completely transparent. Like I get probably like $50 a month, or like probably $50 to $60 a month through streaming, and I'm hitting like 50,000 streams per month. I'm only getting $50. Why would I split that up with somebody when I need to put that right back into advertisement?
Do you know
What's the point of having a manager?
Do you know how much 1 million streams is on Spotify?
It's like 2 racks, maybe 3 racks.
It's 4,000. It's 4,000. 4,000 is like the estimate because obviously it's like it's numbers,
the
but
country and everything.
But it's 4,000. So like, even if you're getting 1 million streams a month, you're only making $4,000 on streams. Now we're not talking about everything else.
Yeah, people want to get literal. We're talking about streams.
We're talking about
Spotify,
solely streams from Spotify. And if Spotify is paying $4,000, I think Tidal pays $12,000 for 1 million streams.
Who's on Tidal though?
But no one's on Tidal. I think Apple Music might pay like $6,000 or something like that.
They'll pay you.
It's more, but it's not. But
once
still,
again,
the
listenership.
Right. So if you have $4,000 coming in per month, or say you have 1 million streams everywhere, and say you even have $10,000 coming in, the likelihood that you're gonna need to break off that $10,000 for a manager and give them 20% of that, it's like for what at that point?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna give them what's that, $2,000?
Yep.
So you're gonna give them $2,000 of your $10,000. Now you have 8, and what did they do? Like if we're talking based on streaming, what did the manager do to get you those 1 million streams? Did they do anything? And hopefully they are doing their job.
And here's another thing. I seen a post from the QMC Productions, whatever,
Right.
like all the billboards and the radio stations and all these, like the small radio stations. It's cool and all. I get the thing for the exposure, but like I don't want to say it's nothing. I don't want to frame it in that way. But that could be money that could be spent somewhere else, or that you don't have to pay a manager to get you there. That money could be spent with marketing your music or building your catalog. Like, it doesn't have to be, let me do a radio appearance here, let me get a billboard in Times Square. Because I've seen a lot of artists do it, like just get a big billboard in Times Square, and they all get in the same billboard. And it's like, in my mind, that money could be going towards real marketing. I pass by billboards all the time. Am I enticed to do anything with them? No.
Or maybe subconsciously you see them and it creates that in your head. You know what I mean?
Probably for a lot of people, but for me, it's just like, okay, cool. That's nice to see.
As far as like if we go back to the million streams, getting you $4,000, right? If you're making $4,000 a month, right? You probably are making, that's probably enough to like have a livable salary off music.
Because I'm making less than that. I'm still
Right.
living. Exactly.
And
yeah.
$4,000, that's a livable salary, right? What are you doing on the days that you're not making music? Like what is your job? What exactly are you doing on those days? Because if you're just mailing it in because you're getting music, and then you have a manager who's doing whatever they're doing, why can't you take that role and keep 100%?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a greed thing, you know. Like a lot of people want to bring their friends on as their manager, and they should really bring their friend on as an assistant.
Yep.
Hire an assistant.
More
don't
so
give
than
them
a manager.
a management role. They don't know management. Plain and simple.
If you're gonna help out and try to get certain things for me whenever I do need them, I'd rather have that than a manager that doesn't really know much about the music industry. And it's also, I don't know where you was about to go with this, but now I'm thinking it too. Is like from reading the music business book. It's like for the most part, a lot of people think they may need a manager, but a lawyer is more important than the manager itself. So it's like, you can have a manager, sure, go ahead, but you more than likely will benefit from having a music entertainment lawyer on your side more so than a manager.
Where I was going with it is that I think that people want to outsource too quick.
Yeah.
I think that people don't necessarily need the help, but they think it sounds better than it actually is.
Because it fits the artist's role, or like what an artist is supposed to do. Your artist is supposed to have a manager, artist is supposed to have a PR firm and all that,
And I get that this is old thinking. Like
Very
it's just
old
old thinking, man. Like we're in an age where you could kind of handle everything. There's different apps that you could, like if you wanted to get like a QuickBooks for small business and keep all your books straight, like you just link your bank account with the book. It's not like you have to do much. And now like the job that a manager would be taking on, I don't know where it lies. What exactly are they doing for you? Like, because again, all right, go back to what we were talking about before. Are they booking you shows? Can you book yourself those same shows?
Yes.
And if you're not capable, then hopefully you got a good manager who has more connections than you. But the management role that seems to be the only one that artists know of, either manager or A&R. Those are the two that, like, when I speak to young artists, they're like, we got to get an A&R in here, or we got to get a manager.
Yep.
It's like, those are the only two roles that you guys know exist. And there's so many beyond that. Like, you have your lawyers. You do have assistants where, like, you can hire an assistant for way lower rates.
A road manager.
A tour manager.
The tour manager.
Like, you have all these different roles that once you get to the point of doing it, because your manager's not always your tour manager.
And like, so put it in like that. Like, you wouldn't technically, you may not need a manager, but let's just say you just reached out to a bunch of different cities across the country or whatever, and you got a following in these cities, and now you're trying to set the tour up, and it's your first time doing it. At that point, hey, listen, if you could find somebody or somebody that reaches out to you that says they're a tour manager, and you sat down and you did the business with them, you figured out everything that's what's going to transpire, then at that point, get that tour manager. You still don't need a manager. You may need a tour manager now just to orchestrate everything, but the manager still isn't necessary. You could do that legwork yourself.
Also, if you want to hire a manager, right, you look at their roster. Mm-hmm. And this is saying that you're not hiring your friend, right? We're talking about you go out of your way to find a real music manager. You look at their roster. Who's on their roster? How successful is that person?
How many artists are they managing at that point?
Because think about this. If they're managing 5 different artists and you're giving them 20% of your 100, right? How much percent of their time are they dedicating to you?
Exactly.
If they have 5 artists and are divvying up the pie 5 different ways, right? How much percentage are they actually giving to you? And is it worth that? Or should you find a manager who has less of a roster? And when you're looking at their roster and you see the success level of the people around you, is that the success that you're looking for? Or is it lower than the success that you're looking for? Maybe those people that they're managing, they're not really big. So you go, why would I have this person manage me when he hasn't been able to work anything out with these guys?
Indeed.
And these are all questions you have to ask yourself before you even take on a manager. It's easy to hire a manager. It's easy to hire someone that wants to take your money. That's very simple. If you tell me right now, yo, I'll give you money, all you got to do is manage me, and you have no idea what a management role even entails, I could mail it the fuck in. Now, the type of guy I am, I'm not going to do that. But what I'm saying is a lot of people out there, they take on that management position. They're taking 20% of whatever you're willing to give them, and they might not have a clue.
They don't know shit. They know just as much as you probably know.
And it's if they did know more than you, it wouldn't be hard to figure out how much they know.
Because the same way we look at artists and we say fake it till you make it, you acting like managers can't do the same. They're going to do the same thing. Just fake it until you make it. Just try to figure out some stuff, especially when artists tend to be ignorant and not want to know anything about the music business.
I've seen artists come through with their manager to the studio, and the manager is getting just as high as the artist. And to me, that's not something that's acceptable or tolerable as a person employing you. If I'm the artist and my goal is to make music, and that's what I want my job description to entail. I make the music, I put the music out, you manage the rest of my shit, right? And you're at all the parties with me, and you're getting just as fucked up as the artist. When are you doing the work? When is the business side going to come in and say, "Hey, I need you to do this"? And if you're too high to do that, what's the purpose of you? And I think that, a lot of people want to be part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I keep on going back to, if you're going to hire your friend, hire them as an assistant. You don't have to call them an assistant. Give them whatever the fuck role they want to be called, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Helping hands.
What's an office assistant? That's what they call a secretary now?
Yo, bro, thank you for helping me. Is
that what they call an office? A secretary.
Office, secretary.
Because it used to be secretary, then that was like demeaning, so now it's office assistant.
Yeah, office assistant.
Right? Yep. So why can't your homie be your music assistant?
Yeah.
They assist you with your career. What you need done, they help you do it. And it doesn't have to be bitch work. I think a lot of people hear assistant and they think, oh, so what? I got to go get the drinks for everyone. That might be part of it, but that's part of any job.
Even
right?
Even for me, like when I have my friends, or even like last time when we shot Earn Your Leisure, you held the camera for me. It's like, I don't want to put a title or anything. It's like, you guys are helping me out. You understand what I'm trying to build. And it's just like, you're helping out whenever I do need the assistance. And you don't have to have a title.
And if you had someone that was just on staff at all times and you wanted to go shoot a video and they were getting a percentage or they were getting whatever, they were getting a salary or base pay,
mm-hmm.
right? It would be a lot easier for you, the artist, to accomplish what you need accomplished.
Exactly.
Rather than having to click 3 on Pro Tools and run over and record.
Yep.
You could just have your assistant there to actually hit the button. If you record all your own music and then you send it out for mixing and mastering, or you just need someone to be
press 3.
Right. You just need someone around to just help out with the daily operations, but you don't necessarily need a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing that a lot of artists get confused with. They want help and they could have help. Just don't give up that management role, because once you give that up, that's a percentage that you might not be willing to give.
Yep.
And it's not greed. It's just smart business. It's
working
smarter.
If you don't have much to manage, or if you're not getting a lot of income, why are you giving more of it out? Because that income is what's going to propel you forward as an artist. Why dish it out to a manager at, when you're like more smaller scale, when you can use that to better your sound, you can use that to better your marketing. Why give that off to somebody else when you can just do all those things on your own? It's as simple as that. When you look at it from like the business standpoint, why give off money when you can do it yourself and keep the money in your pocket and reinvest in yourself?
And reinvesting should be more important to you than a manager at the time being.
Yeah.
For a lot of you. I know it's taboo to go out of your way to like not belittle yourself, but be honest with yourself. I know that a lot of people, because we just started putting clips on TikTok, right? And we've been having a lot of engagement with different artists around the country, and it's really dope. But to see the perspective of a lot of artists think that they're there, and I've been there before. I was there when I was like 18, right? I thought I was the shit. and I thought I was bigger than I was, and I thought I knew more than I did, because honestly, I didn't know fucking anything.
It's the ego.
Right? So once you drop that ego and you start to actually reflect on yourself and you start to look at what you're actually doing, what am I actually pulling in as far as streams go? What am I actually pulling in as far as revenue? Right? And when you see that that's not what you've touted yourself to be, because a lot of you guys think that you're stars and you're not even close. And that's not a disrespectful thing. I don't mean it as a diss.
It's realistic.
I'm just being realistic with you. Like, yeah, you might be very talented, but you're not there yet.
And there's so many other talented people in the world. And there's always going to be somebody that's, make more music than you or may have a better sound than you. That's all cool and all. But even the people with the better sounds, they don't really make it anywhere if they don't put the legwork in. And, they're focused on all on the wrong things. You got to be focused on the right things. You have to be very clear-minded in what you're trying to achieve and where you need to be in this game. And once again, it's so easy to get sidetracked. I need a manager. I need this look. I need this specific sound. I need to do this, that, and the third. But it's honestly simple. Just stay true to your sound. Stay true to what you do and promote it. Those are like the 3 steps to do anything.
Find your sound.
Find your sound. Oh, okay. I
Find
that too.
your
that,
sound
yeah, find
first.
that sound too.
Because just a side note, this doesn't really have to do with the management thing, and I don't think it's enough for a full episode, but we see a lot of artists constantly saying, I'm so versatile, my catalog is huge, and it's all different types of music. And all that says to me is, one, that you're very young in this business because you don't get it. And 2, like, being versatile when you're trying to sell a product isn't always the best thing. It could hurt you way more than it could help you in most cases, right? Because, like, all right, so you're a boom bap rapper, but you drop trap every other week, and then you also put out EDM tapes every once in a while.
And do pop like every other weekend.
Right. And now you have a following, or you're trying to have a following, and they're falling in love with the boom bap shit, and then the next week they go, this song sucks, this is trap. And then the next week comes out, they're like, EDM. The fuck? Right?
And don't get us wrong, it's cool to cross over, but after you have to have an initial sound. Like, you just can't cross over at any whim. Like, I'm just gonna do this day, I'm gonna do this that day. Build your own sound. The bigger you get as an artist, you can start crossing over and just doing like a few songs. That's mostly what rap stars do anyway. They just go into pop after they made a sound for themselves and became big.
There's an artist named Kenny Mason that I really like right now. And his albums are a mix of trap and all these different things. But the one thing that stays true is he sounds exactly like himself on every single record. Whether he's making like a rock record or a boom bap record, they all have a similar sonic sound to them, and they all fit the same genre, which is his genre.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you can't make different styles of music, but if you're completely switching your sound on a weekly basis because you think that it's diversifying, there's no diversifying. Like, just think about the biggest companies in the world. Whether you eat a nacho cheese Dorito or you eat a Cooler Ranch Dorito, are they both Doritos, and do you know that they're both Doritos? Right?
Facts.
Like, they taste like a Dorito. The chip itself tastes like a Dorito. Whether you drink a cherry Coke, vanilla Coke, or a regular Coke, it tastes like Coke. The underlying thing is Coke, right? It's not, one thing doesn't taste like one completely different thing, and then the other, like, it's always going to be that Coke, or it's always going to be that Dorito. So when you bring that back to your music, which is a business that processes just like a regular business, any business, you could compare it to your food businesses, you can compare it to your financial businesses. Everything kind of goes together because it's business at the end of the day. When you're making a product, it has to have your feel to it. It has to have that thing that makes it yours before you could go and diversify. Because if you sound different on a weekly basis, your following is not going to grow, because they're gonna look for something that they're not finding every other week.
Exactly.
They just don't know what to even get from you. So rather than stick around, they're going to go find that guy who makes the stuff that they enjoy.
And it's consistent.
Consistent with that stuff. Yo, they like boom bap, right? And they found you in boom bap. But then when you made that trap record, they left you and they went to another guy who makes boom bap. And the next week he makes boom bap, and the next week. Because that's what they like.
Because even when I did like the boom bap for God's Call, it felt a little different to me, but it still had my sound. Like, I just had the deep voice going. It still had like the slow flow and everything. And it fit right in, even though it was a boom bap song that I don't normally always do. but it just fit because it still was me. It still
Well, it's
still
also the
sounds like me.
melodics that you put. When
Exactly.
you put melody on a record, it sounds like you. And that's the one benefit, is that you always find a way to incorporate melody.
Myself, yeah.
And the melody is you. It could be on any beat. If you incorporate that melody, it sounds like a Bailz Pagliacci song.
Exactly.
Now, if you're not incorporating that melody and you're trying to rap, like, you've had these songs before.
Yeah, definitely have.
You've had, like,
When I was
again,
just coming back
we're
out.
human beings that make the same mistakes that every other artist makes. I'm not, when
We're
we
the same
talk on
artists.
this,
Yeah.
when we talk on this podcast, a lot of it is us reflecting on our own shit that we've done and the mistakes that we've made ourselves. So understand that, like, when we tell you that you shouldn't do a certain thing, it's because we've also made that mistake, and we're trying to prevent you from doing that so your career can grow faster than ours would be able to.
Cause shit, we've been building these things for like what, 15, close to like 20
Right.
years, and it's just like a lot of times, our younger listeners who are probably like around of like 16 to 18 range, like, you take some of this advice, and the next thing you know, you're a little bit further than I was when I was like 20, 21, because I was in nowhere and I didn't have anybody to like guide me through anything. I was just out here doing whatever I thought seemed fit. I didn't have anybody like a mentor or like somebody that had the experience. I was just doing stuff.
And also, like, going back to the don't be too cool to think that you have to do the legwork. Don't be too cool to take advice from people that know a little bit more than you. Like, I know everyone wants all the answers and everyone wants to be the guy who retains all the answers, but the smartest person is usually the one that admits that they don't know shit.
Exactly.
Right? So, like, be the smart guy. Admit that you don't know stuff and grow from it. Like take the advice. Seek the help from people. When you're 16, you don't get it yet. And I know that. Like, I was a rowdy little fucking 16, 18-year-old
Doing
in
the
this
same
shit.
exact thing.
And trust me, bro, you couldn't tell me shit.
Yep.
But it hurt me. And
The fuck out of me.
if you learn quicker to take help and to take advice from people who know more than you, and you learn that you don't know shit, and it's okay to not know shit, because the smartest people, again, that you talk to are going to admit when they don't know something. And if you learn that that's beneficial, not knowing stuff, because that means you can learn stuff, right? Your career is going to grow faster.
Preach.
Everyone whose career grows fast is because they were taking the advice that was given to them, because it's impossible to know all the answers.
Preach.
And, like, the goal for this podcast with me and Bailz is to eventually be sitting down with industry executives and having conversations that you guys could tune into and learn from. And a lot of that is going to be us asking questions that we don't know the answers to, because we're willing to admit we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like no one has every answer. And if you're a young artist, again, and people are willing to offer you answers, what would it hurt you to try it at least? Not necessarily, you don't have to take it as law.
Yeah.
But try these theories, right? And if they work for you, then you could be like, okay.
Because it's so easy to disregard information when you've never done it before or you've never seen it. It's so easy to disregard information. Nah, this is the way I got to do it. This is the way I've seen it before. But then that just brings that ignorance in play.
But it's also funny because a lot of the people that are disregarding the information have not gone anywhere.
Yep.
And it's like, did you ever stop to think that maybe the reason that you didn't go anywhere is because you're disregarding all the information? Maybe it's because you're making those mistakes that you're not growing and you're not going anywhere. And if you take that advice and you implement it, maybe you will grow from it. And if you just disregard everything that you think is just not what you want to do, just because you have some idea in your head that you're right, then you might never grow.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, you're going to have to stop, take a step back and go, maybe they know more than me. Let me try it out, right? And you see it. Like, again, we've been engaging a lot on TikTok, and there's a lot of people on TikTok that are going, yeah, I'm going to try this.
Yep. And then there's just on the same token, there's more people that are just saying, no, that's not true. That's not how it works. Nah, this is bullshit. And it's like, how would you know?
Right. But I'm going to focus more on the people that are willing to take the, or at least say, yeah, I'm going to try this out on my next release.
Yeah. And that's something like you artists should like definitely realize. Even though there are a lot of us in this game and it's oversaturated, I think I probably said this on the first episode. Not everybody's going to sit down at the table and try to really do what they need to do. There's going to be a lot of people that's just going to complain and say they needed this, they needed that. But all they needed to do was just sit down and listen.
And stop making excuses for themselves. Because that's all that is. When you sit down, you're saying, oh, this is why I didn't do it. My city was too small, this, that. It's all just a list of excuses. And once you learn how to navigate around those excuses, you might actually get somewhere.
So stop with the excuse that you need a manager.
Exactly. and don't go out on a limb and just hire someone that might not have the credentials to even do the job that you're hiring them for. Good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, guys. Rappers Guide Podcast, episode 23. This is Diggy Metro.
Bailz Pagliacci.
Peace out, guys.